Hey, what's happening, Roland? Well, everybody I talk to says they're saying, "Hey, when did you get your new boat?" And I said, "No, this isn't the new boat. This is a boat I've had for a couple of years. I took the wrap off, and I'm using my Booyah Clean products, and it's spick and span. It looks 100%, and it's so clean and pretty. I'm getting ready to do some film work, and what a great week because this is right here in November. It's the third week of November right now. There's deer season going on all over the country. People are catching them all all over the South Carolina and Georgia. Bass fishing is going crazy. Striper fishing is going crazy. The Keys are going crazy. There's nice calm weather down there. Saltwater fish. So it's just a good sportsman's week. A good sportsman's week. And right now I'm fishing. I'm getting ready to go on a big deer hunt. Actually going up to with Lane Kenny, that game warden friend of mine at the longest serving game warden in the state of Florida. And we're going to do some deer hunting as I go to Louisiana next week to do some striped bass, or not striped, I'm sorry, big channel bass or the big redfish, the big bull redfish. So that's all coming up. That's all part of the ball game. And but the fishing's fantastic right now. This is really, if you want to just catch a million fish right now, I can take you to headwaters. Oh my heavens! And they're just around these deep little holes and channels. And I got a special way of catching them. I just want to tell you what I do right now. It's so much fun. I take a little rod like this. See this? This is my new Lose spinning rod reel, and I got 30-pound braid. 30-pound braid. Doesn't sound like much. And on that braid, I have a circle hook because part of the regulations for headwaters is you got to use a circle hook on shiners. I got a circle hook for a circle hook, and up the line just a little ways, about a foot or so, I have a little bobber stop on the line. And there's a little weight. There's a little weight that's kind of holding back. And I take a medium-sized shiner, and you saw that big 10-pounder that I caught last week. That was something. It was. I didn't catch it. My guide trip caught it, but that was a big one. We caught another 8-pounder that week, and we caught another 7-pounder that week. Several 7-pounders. So what we're doing, and it's so cool. People aren't doing this very much. People traditionally take a shiner, and this is the average guy that goes fishing in Okeechobee or headwaters. They take a shiner like this, put it on a float like this, and throw it out next to the reeds, and that works. You catch fish, you catch a lot of fish, but some of the big fish at headwaters are down deep, and to catch them, you can't use a bobber because it's 10 or 15 feet deep. You use a free line. And it's so much fun in that open water because you got a spinning rod that's really set up for open water anyhow. And it's so much fun landing a great big 7 or 8 or 9 or 10-pound bass on a spinning rod like this. This is just a medium size reel, and it's a medium sized rod. It's nothing real special, about a 7-foot medium action. But boy, is it much fun. But anything over 5 pounds, it's a battle. But you can do it in open water. That's the whole key. Open water is the key to this whole operation. And I throw it out there, and what I do is you can feel that shiner with that. It's a kind of a Carolina rig setup, and you can feel that shiner just kind of wiggling around. And so I move it a lot. What I do is the little tufts of grass under the water, little bits of hydrilla, and so I'll let it sit there for a second, and I'll pull up tight, and I'll just kind of twitch my rod, and I'll just kind of move it through the hydrilla just a foot or so, and it'll pop loose. And a lot of times when it pops loose from that hydrilla, that's when they get it. But it comes to a new spot, and then it's wiggling around. It's got a free line. It's only pulling this one little hook, and then there's a little bitty weight there, So it's just kind of wiggling around and swimming. It'll swim on its own accord and pull that weight around some. But the point is, I have people holding these rods, and so you'll feel the shiner. And the shiner will be, thumping and moving some too. And then you'll feel the strike because this is braid. And when the bass bites it, you usually feel thunk. And then you'll feel the real slow, good, even pressure. And that's a bass. Now, there are catfish that bite, and there are a few garfish that bite, and some big mudfish, and all that's part of the game. Like a 15-pound mudfish gets on there, and you think you got a trophy of a lifetime. It ends up being a great big 3-foot long mudfish, which is a game in itself. But anyway, that's really been a good way of catching catching fish. Now on these shiners that I hook this way, I hook them in the nose. I don't hook them in the lips. The lips are kind of thin and tender, but I go through the upper lip and go through the nose of the fish, kind of between his eyes and a real hard part of the body. And I've tried to kill these shiners, and you don't kill them doing that. I don't know where their brain is, and I don't know where their nervous system operates from, but all that area around their eyes and nose and face is good. I mean, I could put the hook right through there. It doesn't kill them. They swim like crazy all around the place. And if you hook them in the lips, that works too. But it's so tender. Now I keep telling people, the women often catch more fish because they listen to me. Well, so the worst thing that you want to do, the last thing you want to do, is when you get a strike, is just rear back and just set the hook as hard as you can. That's not the way to shine a fish, because half the time the bass has the shiner and the hook is on the outside of his mouth. The shiner's like here, the hook's here, and the bass has the shiner and doesn't even have the hook. So what you do, you put a little bit of pressure on him, just kind of a little bit of pressure, and if that's all he has is just the shiner, he'll let it go. It'll swim away. And 99% of the time, if you instantly stop, the second that it comes loose, you just stop real fast, he'll come back and hit it again. And almost all the big fish that I've had to hit like that, they'll come back and hit a second or third time every time. So that's a really good deal. Now, of course, the other deal is throwing up shallow with the float. That's still a way to catch them, and we're still catching bass that way with the float. So that's really a big deal. But this last week, I went also to Lake Okeechobee. And let me tell you, Lake Okeechobee, they had a big tournament after that cold front. See, that cold front hit when I was catching that great big 10-pounder last week, and then it was kind of bad for a couple of days, kind of really tough fishing. On headwaters it was. It dropped her. Instead of catching 60 or 70 bass, we only caught 30 or 40 bass. Still we caught bass. But anyway, it started to warm up, and I went to Okeechobee. And what happened on Okeechobee was that finally the water temperature when I first got to Okeechobee was 62 and 63 degrees in the morning. That's a little cold. Not much was going on. It was a kind of a tough bite. We're just catching a few fish early and a few fish in the afternoon. It was just really a kind of a tough time. But as the week progressed, and just a few days ago now, it was already now in the morning, it was already up to 67, 68 degrees to start with, 69 degrees to start with in the morning. And as the day progressed, it would be up in the 70s, 72, 74, 75. I'm telling you, folks, when it's in the 70s, that's the time bass bite. And I tell you this all the time. When it gets down in the 60s, they get a little precarious, a little tough, a little peculiar, a little particular. And so what you have to do is you have to really watch that weather. If you want a really outstanding trip when you come to Florida, just watch the weather really close and try to get those rising water temperature days. Try to get those where there's not much wind, plenty of good sun, and boy, that's when they hit the best. And so what we did, I was taking this #1 lure that I have right now. It's such a good deal. This is the salty sink worm. And I was doing a kind of a grape-colored one, and I was taking this salty sink worm, and I just had a little screw-in weight on it, and that's a little 1/8 of an ounce tungsten weight on the salty sink worm, a 4/0 EWG hook, and that's 50-pound braid. And instead of going into the outside weed line, which on the cold front days they kind of get on the outside, they were some kind of in the inside weed lines. I was going all the way back, like in front of Observation Island and in front of the shoal itself of Turner's Cove, all up through Turner's, Whiddon's Pass, all the way up through there. And there's all sorts of really neat inside reed lines that's only 3 feet deep. But that's where the fish were. They're moving back. Actually, they're kind of getting ready to spawn as these warm fronts move in, and it gets warm all of a sudden. They'll move in shallower, and they're getting that 3-foot water. And that's what they were. They were in that 3-foot water. And I was throwing this worm and just working it slow, just kind of dead sticking it. Here was the key to those pre-spawners, and that is I'll make the cast into the spot, and I'll kind of dead stick it for a while. I won't really retrieve it real fast. I'll just kind of hold it there for a second. And then instead of just moving, I'll just kind of hop it along just to jig it a little teeny bit. Because if there's one looking at it, when I start to jiggle it, that's when he'll usually take it. And then if that doesn't work, that's one really good combination. I was taking this little big baby Huey, I think they call it. It's a big swimming worm by Fish Lucky. It's a big long. Look at that thing, big 10-inch worm. I was taking this with a little 1/8 ounce weight, 50-pound braid, and I throw in those same places in there. I found some hydrilla. Hydrilla's kind of coming back there, and I was making long casts across the hydrilla, and I just let it sit to the bottom and move it just a little bit. Then I'd swim it some. I'd swim it about 10 feet and stop it. And then I'd jig it again, and then I'd swim it again 10 or 15 more feet. And this actually, this big worm paid off. It caught a couple nice ones, 3 or 4 pounds. So that was my second choice. Now we also went out. There's some grass, but it's called joint grass or Kissimmee grass. And it's out on the reef in the middle of the lake. It's on the shorelines all around a lot of areas of the lake. It's a lot of Kissimmee grass on Lake Okeechobee. And it's at about 3 and 4 feet of water. And what I do for that, there's really kind of 2 or 3 lures that I use. Early in the morning when you see them busting in there, you take a frog, just a big spro frog like this, and throw that in there. And I got 65-pound braid. I'm throwing in the real thick part of the grass with that. That's one combination when you see them breaking water. The other combination is taking a chatterbait, just a regular. I like the Z-Man. Well, they're all Z-Man, but it's that's the good series, Brett Height series, chatterbait. They're $15 and a little expensive. I like the gold blade on it. And I take this trailer is really kind of cool. This trailer that I'm using now, it's called a live motion. It's the 5-inch live motion, and it's by Fish Lucky. It's a 5-inch live motion. There's a lot of action. It's really works good. And so this chatterbait goes through the grass. I mean, it does. It's got 50-pound braid. And I'm just throwing it in the grass beds, all around the lake, all on the shoal, also wherever I can find it. And when I hit the edge of the grass, I had one the other day about 8 pounds. As soon as it comes free of the joint grass, and you're in open water, the second it does, just kill it. Just let it sink to the bottom like a jig or a worm, and then start to reel. And bam! That over 7-pound bass hit just the other day. That was on Okeechobee. So there are some good big bass hitting lures now in Okeechobee. The other thing I did was I was kind of pitching and flipping as well with that worm, and that really paid off. Now when I was pitching and flipping, I caught one of my big fish this last week at Okeechobee on a jig and in this case it's a football jig by it's a 3/8 of an ounce football jig by Fish Lucky with that same live motion trailer on there. That's really cool. It's that thing really. And what I do, I just kind of pitch it into the reed heads and just kind of jiggle it, just let it sit there for a while. It's kind of like a worm. But again, sometimes I'll use a really heavy line. If it's a real thick reed patch, I might go to 65-pound test. Some of the guys that are winning the tournaments are really catching them on big heavy tackle like that. Okay, the other thing that's really kind of a sleeper deal, and I got to tell you about it, and it's a swim bait. This is what they call a scrounger swim bait. And you notice it's got that same live motion tail that I got from Fish Lucky. And that thing is, I'm just swimming it over the grass, and I'm starting to find a little hydrilla now. Find some around the edge of the joint grass, around back in the reeds, back in front of Observation Island, back in some eelgrass as well. So the Lake Okeechobee is starting to come back and produce some underwater weeds that really are good for the fish and hold fish. So that's been a really good deal. And I'm just using a spinning rod with 30-pound test line on this one, and just making long casts and just swimming it along, just swimming it along as you'd swim any swim bait. But the point is, Okeechobee's alive and well, and some grass is coming back. It looks like we're going to have a pretty good year coming up. And every time it gets warm and the water temperature starts to rise like it's doing now, that's the time to fish. You want to avoid those cold fronts when the water's going the other way. When it's going down, the fish go down. It's just not as good. It's not as good. So try to watch the weather forecast. And I go to my iPhone and get a real premium deal on that, and I'll really watch the weather 5 or 6 days out. I know it's hard when you're making all these plans. Anyway, that's one of the things. Another thing I just wanted to mention was I got this boat right here, and I've been showing you this homemade. It's actually an old aqua sport boat, and I've done so many changes, like put new decks on it, and it's all a new decking that it has, and all the sea deck. It's completely different with the trolling motor. I got a tower. I'm selling this boat, and if you're really interested in a really serious flats boat for some bay fishing, boy, this is the boat. This is fantastic. And so give me a call. Give me a call. And that's you can contact me all the time at Roland Martin 1 at yahoo.com. That's my email. And so if you want to book a trip, that's another deal. I can take you to put some really good fishing right now. Maybe not to the deer hunting, but the fishing for sure. We'll see you again soon. Hey, hit that likes button. Hey, thanks for watching.